The sun was rising over Vera 9, a planet orbiting a fragile yellow star, when Arya felt the first sting. It wasn't a physical pain in the way humans felt cuts or bruises, it was a burning in her very essence, a light that tore through her crystalline skin and made her luminous core shiver. On her planet, her people, the Luminara, had evolved to live in the cold shadows of gas giants, never directly touching the warmth of a star. Yet today, she had been forced out into the sunlit surface, chasing rumors of a strange artifact humans had dropped in orbit decades ago. She tried to shield herself, folding her wings, translucent like refracted glass, over her body. But the sun's rays pierced every barrier she set. Pain rippled through her, an invisible fire consuming her from the inside. Her panicked calls to her fellow Luminara went unanswered. They never came here, they couldn't survive the surface for more than moments. She was alone. Then she saw him. A human. Captain Cale Renshaw had been stranded on Vera 9 for nearly a month after his small transport ship malfunctioned during a scouting mission. At first, he thought he was alone, surviving by sheer stubbornness and ingenuity. He had spotted the glittering form of Arya from a ridge and, like a moth drawn to a flame, was captivated by her radiant figure. But admiration quickly gave way to shock as he noticed the sun's rays bleaching the color from her crystalline skin, threatening to unravel her. "Stay away from her." Arya's voice cracked across the plains, but her warning was a plea more than a threat. Her core pulsed painfully with every moment in the light. Cale hesitated, unsure. Humans were fragile, and touching a being like her? He had no idea what would happen. Yet instinct, a strange, unexplainable tug in his chest, drove him forward. He shaded her with his own body, blocking some of the sun's rays. The pain flared, but it was slightly lessened. Her gaze, wide and fearful, fixed on him. You can survive this?" she asked, voice trembling like chimes in the wind. I don't know. But I can try," he said, holding his hands out slowly. There was a rhythm to it, a careful, human patience, a willingness to risk himself for another being. Hesitation clung to him like armor, but he stepped closer, touching her arm. The effect was instantaneous. A wave of relief coursed through her luminous veins. The unbearable sun faded, dulled by the warmth of his human touch. Her core, which had been threatening to fracture, pulsed with steady, grateful light. It was alien, terrifying, and yet, comforting. Arya collapsed, leaning against Cale. Her wings fluttered weakly, refracting his touch like sunlight through a prism. I've never felt this before. No other Luminara can. They would burn you instantly," she whispered. Cale frowned. "Why me?" She shook her head. "I don't understand it myself. But your touch, it's life." For hours, Cale stayed by her side, holding her, shielding her from the cruel sun. Slowly, the edges of her pain smoothed into soft warmth. Her skin shimmered again with color, wings folding naturally around her shoulders. By the time the sun dipped behind the horizon, Arya could move on her own. She stepped back, hesitant but grateful. "You've saved me. Not just from the sun, but something inside me I didn't even know was fragile." Cale shrugged, trying to mask his pride, though a grin tugged at the corners of his lips. "Just glad I was here. Though, I have to admit, I've never touched a being like you before." "You are human," Arya said simply. "You are warmth. That is what saved me. Luminara cannot stand the sun, but a human, you have the fire inside you. I feel it in you. And it is safe." That night, as darkness wrapped the twin moons around the planet, Cale and Arya sat by a small crater, exchanging stories. She spoke of the shadows where her people thrived, cities carved into ice cliffs and glowing caves where sunlight never reached. He spoke of Earth, of oceans and deserts, and of humanity's endless need to reach beyond its limits. Despite the strangeness between them, a bond grew. It was slow, cautious, but undeniable. Kale learned that every Luminara was born with an internal light, a fragile core that sustained their lives. Exposure to the sun without the right protection was fatal. Yet somehow, humans, with their heat, their blood, their touch, could stabilize that light not just for Arya, but potentially for all her kind. The next days became a careful dance. Arya needed to leave the shadows, she insisted. The artifact she sought might hold knowledge crucial to her people's survival. Kale accompanied her, shielding her from the sun whenever they ventured into open terrain. In return, she taught him how to interpret the energy fields that ran through Vera 9, guiding him through treacherous caverns and shifting sands that could swallow a human whole. It was during one of these treks that they reached the ancient ruins. Monolithic pillars rose from the sand like frozen flames, etched with symbols that seemed to shift when one looked too long. At the center rested the artifact, a crystalline sphere, pulsating with light, humming with power. Arya reached out, but before she could touch it, a violent tremor shook the ground. Sand and dust spiraled into the air as the ruins began to collapse. Kale grabbed her, pulling her close. The sphere's light flared, reacting to Arya's presence. But the exposure to the light was dangerous, her body trembled under its intensity. Kale, acting on instinct, wrapped his arms around her. The human warmth, steady and constant, absorbed some of the energy, and Arya felt her core stabilize again. "You can do it," he whispered. "We're in this together." With Kale's touch guiding her, Arya touched the sphere fully. Light surged through her, brighter than the sun, but contained, channeled safely. She drew knowledge from it, secrets of energy manipulation, ways to help her people survive on surface worlds, and understanding of human Luminara interaction that had never existed before. When the ruins quieted, the sphere safely contained in her arms, Arya looked at Kale. Her eyes glowed softly, not with pain, but with a kind of wonder. I could not have done this without you. You are part of this now, part of me." Kale smiled. "Part of me always wanted to help someone like you. Didn't expect it would be, literally life-saving." They returned to her shadowed city, moving carefully, Kale learning to live in darkness as Arya guided him. The Luminara watched with or humans had never entered their homes, let alone survived. Some whispered fear, others curiosity. But when Arya introduced Kale as the one whose touch had saved her, reverence spread. A human could save a Luminara from the sun. The implications were staggering. Arya's people began to experiment carefully, learning to integrate human warmth into their healing practices. Kale became both guardian and teacher, bridging two worlds that had never truly touched. Over the following weeks, Kale and Arya grew closer. Their bond was not merely physical, it was a meeting of instinct and energy, warmth and light, human fragility and alien brilliance. They discovered that together, they could venture into places no Luminara could reach alone, deserts, sunlit plains, and even the edges of their fragile atmosphere. One evening, as the twin moons rose, casting a silvery glow over the crystalline city, Arya turned to Kale. "The sun will never harm me now," she said softly. "Not while you are near. Not while your warmth is part of me." Kale took her hand, a simple, human gesture, yet more powerful than any weapon or technology. "And I'll never leave your side," he said. "Even in the shadows, even in the light. We'll face it together." Arya smiled, the kind of smile that lit the darkness like sunlight. "Then we are more than survival. We are something new. Something no one has ever known." And for the first time in her life, Arya looked at the sun not with fear, but with hope because she was not alone. A human's touch had saved her life, yes, but it had also opened a path to a future where light and warmth, alien and human, could coexist. As the first dawn broke over Vera 9 again, Kale and Arya stood together at the edge of the shadows, facing the sun. She no longer flinched. Instead, she spread her wings and let the light touch her fully, confident and strong, while his hand held hers firmly. They had survived, they had learned, and they had changed the destiny of an entire world together.